Sultani ye mama. Of course. We shall learn this a lot. I'm happy you were almost reaching there. Now this is the time for facilitator. We first sit down.
It's good afternoon already. Hello? Hello? Welcome back from breakfast. Over lunch. Pre-lunch, eh? There was a complaint. The complaint was, if we cannot mobilize ourselves, how are we going to mobilize others? Let us try to keep time. Otherwise, we have a very long program, as you have seen. If we don't keep time, we shall be forced to enter into a private program late at night, because we have to complete every day's program and conclude it. So it's in our interest, all of us, to see that we keep time, we work within that period. Are we clear? Yes, sir. Thank you. Now, I welcome you to our next session. This session is about service delivery and management. And our resource person who is going to lead us and present to us is none other than Mrs. Jane Chalisima Mwesiga. She is the Deputy Head of Public Service and the Deputy Secretary to Cabinet in the office of the Prime Minister, and she's in charge of performance management service delivery. And this is where your RDCs, your deputy RDCs, and your assistants are charged with. If you know what is vital in our manifesto, the 21-26 is service delivery, right? So I think it is vital that you listen very attentively to her presentation. She's a well-seasoned human resource person. And for some of you who have been around, as I have been, you know she's the foundation of the NRM Secretariat Human Resource. So she was there at the time when the NRM, when it was still movement, as a human resource person. So I welcome you, Madam Mwesiga, to present to these wonderful people. They are the Deputy RCCs and RDCs and Chairman of NRM from all over the country. Thank you very much. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Honorable Bakoja. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Are you okay? Yes, ma'am. I hope I won't be speaking to, it's a bit hot. I realize most of you are feeling it. But in case you realize that you are about to start making some calculations, you can stand at the back because I appreciate it's hot. Yeah. But I need to move with everyone. So I've been introduced. I'm Jane Charisima Mwesiga, Deputy Head of Public Service, but I want to clarify one thing. I'm a Deputy Head of Public Service responsible for performance and service delivery. I have a colleague, we are 2 deputies to the Head of Public Service. The other deputy, Dr. Teopista Wenene, is the Deputy Head of Public Service and Deputy Secretary to Cabinet. And she's responsible to, she heads the Cabinet Secretariat. But my docket as a Deputy Head is performance and service delivery. And my role is to coordinate implementation of government policies, programs, projects across government, ministries, departments, agencies, local governments, and other public service institutions. And the other public service institutions are like authorities, commissions, boards, councils, public universities, all of them. So the entire public service. So I'm responsible for coordinating the performance. I do this through other existing structures, other offices, including RDCs. Because you are responsible for monitoring and evaluation. That's my docket. I therefore expect to work with you very closely. I was telling Madam Martha Asimwe that I've been wanting to have a meeting with her, but we've agreed to hold a meeting for everyone who is responsible for monitoring, for evaluation, for inspection, and service delivery in the country. That includes Office of the President, because there are 3 structures there under Office of the President. We have the Economic Monitoring, we have the Manifesto Implementation Unit, we have the RDC desk. Then, of course, we have like local government has inspection, public service has inspection, education has inspection, and many others. So we want to bring ourselves together in the spirit of coordination, in the spirit of whole of government approach to ensure that we all work together. So I'm very delighted to be here to talk to you, but also to agree, how do we collaborate? How do we work together? How do we improve service delivery? All the things that I found all of you talking about, the questions, the issues, it's about service delivery, isn't it? And I want to give you an assurance that if we did our job very well, then these issues of Kawempe you are talking about, the issues of saying PDM is doing what, it won't arise. Because the moment you improve service delivery and people get their services, results speak louder than words. Results speak louder than words. And wouldn't be struggling. You wouldn't be struggling with how do we win elections. You wouldn't. What people want are services. And that's what you are responsible for. And when we talk about services, what do we mean by services? When we talk about service delivery, I want to start by asking these questions. When I go through I don't like going through the slides. I want to speak from my heart. So when we finish, then we can quickly go through the slides and we are done. So who can tell me what you understand by service delivery? What is service delivery? What is service delivery?
The reason government exists is to take care of the needs of its people, take responsibility for the requirements of the citizens, and all the other stuff on a paraphernalia, so that people are happy with what they pay their taxes for.
Exactly. So what are services? When we talk of service delivery, what services are we talking about? What are we talking about? Yes. Fine, go ahead. What is service? No. Am I the only one who understands services? and service delivery. Aren't you the people who are in charge of service delivery? So tell me, please. Mm-hmm.
When you go to school, your children are possible. When you are a citizen, you require a good road.
Yes. So the services are all embracing. You wanted to say something, lady? Services. What are the services that we are in charge of as RDCs, as the movement chairpersons? What services are we talking about? Mm-hmm. In broad themes. Health services. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Of course, you have to check in the store.
Yes.
The drugs they have received and also to find that, for example, in the repo.
So some services, you are talking about health services. Uh-huh, that's okay. Any other service? In broad terms, yes. Social services, like education, water, infrastructure. What else? Security, judicial. So all those are services. So when we talk about service delivery, that's what we are talking about. Incidentally, I don't like talking to people when they are also talking. I'm the only one who has a microphone. If you want to speak, put up your hand, I will give you an opportunity. I talked to the coordinator, Honorable Bakoja. I was telling him that I'm really disappointed that the chief mobilizers are the ones who want to be mobilized. It disappoints me. Okay? Disappoints me. And the fact that I'm in charge of service delivery, I'm also responsible for you. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. So when I observe something like this, then I'm like, you know, do I have the right people in the right place? Do I have the right people in the right place? Okay? So I just am happy that you have understood that when we talk about services, we are talking about everything, not only security. Okay? Health, education, the others, and everything. So that is what service delivery is all about. And that is my role, to coordinate all of you that are responsible for delivery of services to ensure that we move in the same direction. Mr. Bakoja, I think I'm in a wrong place. I was here about 3 weeks ago. When did the undersecretaries end their training? About 3 weeks ago. I want to assure you that I had the best audience ever. I had the best audience ever. I had the best audience. If they are not ready to listen to me, I would rather remain with the few who are ready to listen, and those who are not ready, they can get out. So do you understand what I'm saying? That we have mobilizers, chief mobilizers, but they cannot mobilize themselves. And they want someone to sit at the back and mobilize them.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's not a compliment. Okay? Especially coming from your supervisor. So please pay attention. You are listed. You know that. You are invited. And for the purpose for which you are invited, your supervisor is talking to you and you are talking to yourself. And we pay attention from now on. Thank you.
So I'm going to go through the slides now, briefly, and then I'll be asking some of the questions, and then we move. So the purpose of this presentation is to discuss the importance of service delivery in Uganda, to understand monitoring and evaluation, the context of public service, and to highlight the role of local government leaders, the deputy resident district commissioners, the deputy resident city commissioners, and the NRM district chairpersons, and we want to look at their role in enhancing service delivery and accountability. I have a number of questions for you, but I want you to reflect on them. We are going to discuss them towards the end. I know you like asking questions. I saw you had many questions to ask, but I will also ask you questions. You've been in these positions for some time, and I also note that the position of RDC is an opportunity. Why? You are the most trusted leaders in the local governments. Why? You represent the president, the most trusted. Is that true? Isn't that an opportunity? But secondly, I've also observed that your tenure of service is a little bit longer. How many of you have served for more than 5 years as RDCs? 5 years, put up your hand. You are not very many, so it means we have very young people here. Yeah, I can see the many of those whom I interacted with when I was still at the Secretariat. I don't see the faces. I only see the one who was my boss, Mr. Mulindwa Mumaso. Honorable Bakoja here, Martha who was here. So, but one thing that I have noted is that when you go to a station, you do not change quite often. Isn't that true? You tend to stay in a position at least relatively more than 2 to 3 years. Isn't it? And that is an opportunity for you to sit in a district and understand what it is. So you have an opportunity. So what is itching you that impedes service delivery? I want us to understand that your role, be it the district, the movement chairpersons, the RCCs, the RDCs, your role, isn't it service delivery? Isn't it? Service delivery improvement. You're going to talk about writing reports, receiving this, doing the other. It's all about service delivery. All the services, the way we talked about them. Isn't it? That's what it is. So why we have been there for all this time, but we still have a song. Poor service delivery. The service is non-responsive. Okay? When you go to the health sector, even the drugs are not there at the health centers. You know? In the schools, you know what is happening in schools. We even have ghost schools. We even have ghost health centers. We have ghost teachers. We have those who are not teaching. Absenteeism is still the highest. The pupil dropout rate is still high. So we still have challenges of service delivery. So what is impeding you as local leaders, RDCs, movement chairpersons? What is itching you that impedes service delivery? We want you to share your experiences, but towards the end, think about that. What is at stake in 2025, 2026? When you sit, do you sit down and draw a plan in your district and say, these are the challenges, this is where we want to go, and therefore this is my work plan as an RDC, as a movement chairperson? What is at stake in 2025, 2026? Don't talk about elections because that is a given. I'm talking in terms of service delivery. Because if you do your role very well and improve services, it would be a walkover for the NRM to win the elections, isn't it? Because the people are complaining. You had even in Kawempe, they were saying there was no PDM. You had during the Women's Day. The issue was PDM. Do we understand what PDM is all about? Do we know how much money has been released? Do we know what has been released in the road sector? Do you know the flagship programs of the president in those particular districts? And what have you done? So what is your plan? So can we propose at least 5 agendas for 2025, 2026? We'll discuss this towards the end, but this is for reflection. What are you going to do? When NDP 3 was reviewed, in 2023, NDP3. You understand NDP3? You understand? When is it ending? June this year. Do you remember some of the weaknesses that were identified that made us, how did we score during the midterm review? What was our performance as a country during the midterm review? Where were, which percentage? What was the percentage? I am going to keep asking these questions. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the things that you need to know. Because if you don't know, then you won't come up with a very good plan to improve service delivery. We were at 17%. And do you know the reasons why we performed at 17%? Do you know why? No impact, no nothing on the ground. What we planned, we never implemented. Weak monitoring and coordination was one of them. Aren't we part of the coordinators? So what do you coordinate? And when you coordinate and identify that there is a problem, what do you do? How do you do it? You know, these are the questions that we need to ask and answer. What are the areas of collaboration with Office of the Prime Minister? The Office of the Prime Minister is by constitution responsible or mandated to coordinate monitoring, evaluation, inspection of government programs, projects, and policies. Overall. So everyone who is doing that is under the supervision of the Office of the Prime Minister. So if you are doing that role, because my role, I was appointed because there was a need, there was a gap, which was timely, to coordinate implementation of government programs. So in other words, how are we going to coordinate between my office and your office? How do I support you after we have identified the bottlenecks that are impacting on service delivery? How do we work together? How do you support my office? How do I support you? Those are the things we should be talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, your role is so critical. You are big people. Your positions are big. If we worked together between you and my office, we are going to remove these impediments, the bottlenecks of service delivery, and it will improve. I can assure you. But we need to go back to the basics. We need to stop being trivial. We need to look at the real issues that matter. Am I communicating? Yes. We need to go back to the basics. We need to look at the real things that matter. I know most of you are going to say, you know, we don't have vehicles. I heard about it. 17%. Do you know why? No impact, no nothing on the ground. What we planned, we never implemented. Weak monitoring and coordination. Follow functions. You will never get money if you do not do the right thing. That one I can assure you. Never. Funds follow function. So if you sit and do your job very well, everybody will be running to come and facilitate you and ensure you do your job and do it better. I never look for money, but each position I occupy, I have always had enough resource. I ensure I do my job and I do it well, and then I get the resources. So funds follow function. So what are the areas of collaboration? One of them. Aren't we part of the coordinators? So what do you coordinate? And when you so that is service delivery for you. Service delivery refers to the process of providing public services to citizens, including healthcare, education, infrastructure, and social services. It highlights the relationship between the service providers, policymakers, and consumers of those services. And effective service delivery is centered around several key priorities: issues of accountability, value for money, efficient and effective use of resources, and improved communication and decision-making processes. So how do you describe the current service delivery? I talked about it. And identify that there is a problem. What do you do? How do you do it? You know, these are the questions that we need to ask and answer.
What are the areas of collaboration with Office of the Prime Minister?
And even water cannot go through. You understand? Or rust the system. So that's how service delivery has become. And you know what happens when you go to offices of public officers? You're asking for a service, come back tomorrow, come back the following day. Tomorrow never comes, you know? It is in the pipeline. Have you heard of that? It is in the pipeline. But how long is the pipeline? How long is the service delivery pipeline?
The Office of the Prime Minister is by constitution responsible or mandated to coordinate monitoring, evaluation, inspection of government programs, projects, and policies overall. So everyone who is doing that is under the supervision of the Office of the Prime Minister. So if you are...
What are the programs that we need to? How do you have a list of service delivery programs by the government? Do you know them? Have you read them? Do you understand PDM? Do you understand EMIOGA? How does it work? Who is responsible for what? How much money has been released? And to which district? If that is your area of jurisdiction, do you know how much money has come? You understand? So you must have a 360 degrees purview of your district. 360 degrees. 360 degrees. I'm going to read for you your role, and then you will understand. Because your role...
That role. Because my role, I was appointed because there was a need. There was a gap.
Is a right for the citizens that we serve. And is a responsibility of the state. And you represent the president. So you must ensure, it's not a privilege. The citizens must demand for services. And it is your role to ensure that all the service providers are current, they know what they are doing, and you monitor, you evaluate, and evaluation.
Which was timely, to coordinate implementation of government programs. So in other words, how are we going to coordinate between my office and your office? How do I support you after we have identified the bottlenecks?
So, those are the guiding principles, briefly in terms of effective service delivery. Services should be timely and sufficient. Services should be user-friendly. Users should feel confident and comfortable utilizing the services. Services should be prompt to address the user needs, and services should be affordable and consistent at all times, and services should be appropriate to respond to the user needs. I think I've said that again. So those are the questions you should be asking. As said, let us...
That are impacting on service. Home that 17%. Do you know why? No impact, no nothing on the ground. What we planned, we never implemented. Weak monitoring and coordination was one of them. And we part of the coordinators. So what do you coordinate? And when you coordinate and identify that there is a problem, what do you do? How do you do it? You know, these are the questions that we need to ask and answer. What are the areas of collaboration with Office of the Prime Minister? The Office of the Prime Minister is by constitution responsible or mandated to coordinate monitoring, evaluation, inspection of government programs, projects, and...
Do you know what they've planned? Do you know the indicators of performance at the end of the financial year? Do you know what that district is supposed to deliver? Do you know how much of the resources?
Overall. So everyone who is doing that is under the supervision of the Office of the Prime Minister. So if you are doing that role, because my role, I was appointed because there was a need, there was a gap, which was timely, to coordinate implementation of government programs. So in other words, how are we going to coordinate between my office and your office? How do I support you after we have identified the bottlenecks that are impacting on service? performed at 17%. Do you know why? No impact, no nothing on the ground. What we planned, we never implemented. Weak monitoring and coordination was one of them. And we part of the coordinators. So what do you coordinate? And when you coordinate and identify that there is a problem, what do you do?
Be expended. I'm asking all these questions so that you know how powerful you are. And these are the things you need to know. You won't monitor if you don't know. So what is the plan in terms of interventions that are supposed to be done? Look at it. Then you map the resources against the plan, how much money has been released. GOU money, development partners in terms of projects, the NTR, the non-tax revenue that is collected because it also goes into those interventions. Do you know what they are? Once you know that, draw your plan. How you are going to monitor. Yes. On a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, then eventually you have your quarterly reports and annual reports. Based on the whole of the district approach, what you are looking at. Is this something that we have been doing? To some extent, but let's be smarter. So that's what monitoring is all about. It serves as a management tool that helps assess the performance of ongoing projects and programs by comparing actual outcomes with expected results. So what are the expected results? What is the impact? What are the indicators? Can you draw your monitoring tool and evaluation tool in such a way that it helps you to look at the indicators that are expected? Because every intervention has an indicator. So look at those indicators, then you see how have we performed against expected. So that by the time that I convene a meeting of all the RDCs, you already have your reports. We can sit and discuss and say, you can even call me and say, you know what, there is a problem in this district. They planned like this, they were given so much money, actually the funds were diverted. Now in terms of the impact on the ground, zero. How have you been sharing your reports? You do reports, isn't it? So where do you send the reports? To the Secretariat. RDC Secretariat. I will work with Madam Martha to see how we share those copies of the reports, because now we need them, because at the end of the day, your monitoring and evaluation reports and recommendations should be leading to evidence-based decision making. I will be making quarterly reports to the President and to Cabinet. And my report should include your recommendations. Those are some of the things I want to hear. How are we going to work together? So let us do the right things. And where we need to go back and check the evidence that you've given, then I will send a team to go on the ground and check. And ensure that when we are writing reports to the President and to Cabinet, that we will influence evidence-based decision-making or a new policy or a policy shift or whatever, according to your recommendations. We may need to go back on the ground and check and be sure. But we should rely on your reports. So you need to do that, and that's what monitoring is all about. Monitoring is a routine and systematic approach. By the way, let us not be, how do I call it? In our monitoring, we should not be reactive. The kind of monitoring sometimes we've been doing is reactive, isn't it? Hey, they have told me there is this and this, and you run there. Oh, they have said this civil servant is actually not a movement. You run there. Don't be reactive. You must have a plan. So monitoring is not reactive. You sit and say 2025, 2026, what is current? What are the issues in 2025? What is itching? On the basis of the challenges you faced in the previous financial year, then you plan. Look at the plans. Get briefs from the executive, from council. And on the basis of that plan, make your plan and come up with tools to monitor. So monitoring is not reactive, it's systematic, and it helps you to evaluate the quantity, the quality, and timeliness of services delivered. You remember the principles we talked about service delivery? So when you plan, it helps you to monitor that and see whether the services are timely and they are of the right quantity and quality. Of course, monitoring provide feedback, which I talked about, to the process owners and the stakeholders regarding the effectiveness of the processes, but it also identifies what works, what doesn't work, and why, as you highlight areas that may need improvement. So that's really what we expect as you do your monitoring. And you need to be as objective as possible to avoid your reports being punched, you know. Evaluation, on the other hand, is similar to monitoring, but this one, you are only looking, it's periodic, it's not routine, but you are only assessing the overall effectiveness, outcomes, and impact of the program. So monitoring, you have some water? Is routine. It could be monthly, quarterly, but when it comes to evaluation, you could decide and say, I'm going to do an annual evaluation. You could even evaluate a particular service. You could say there is a problem in these health services. Let me make an evaluation. You are trying to see the impact of what has happened. Okay? I don't want to go so much into that. So in terms of importance, in terms of M&E for the local leaders, I have grouped them together. I've made it broad for all local leaders. So how do you look at its importance? Ensuring accountability and transparency, enhancing public trust and legitimacy. Very critical for you people, because you are trying to build the public trust for the government of the day, isn't it? For us as civil servants, we have loyalty to the government of the day. And RDCs, your civil servants. Government, your public officers. What is the difference? Let's not go there. So whatever is comfortable is the what term I will use, whether you are civil servant, but you are senior civil servants. At least that's what is in the act. So your role is to improve service delivery, and the moment you do that, what happens? You enhance public trust and legitimacy. We need to ensure that the citizens have public trust in the system, in the government. And how do they gain trust? By improved services. So if they go to the health centers and there is no medicine, the roads are impassable. The schools they cannot even afford, or they are not even there. The roads, you know, as I said, are impassable. So do you expect to have public trust from the citizens? So isn't that what we should be concentrating on? You understand? Yes, that's what we should be concentrating on, so that we can give legitimacy and enhance public trust. Improving service delivery outcomes, we have talked about that. That is the importance. And effective decision making, we've talked about it. It improves the effective decision making. If you do the right thing in monitoring, you give us recommendations, those feed into decision making. You must give us the right data. You need to enhance project ownership, because you are involving everyone, all the stakeholders are involved, and it also provides learning, improvement, and capacity building, because you need also to ensure that these recommendations for improvement are made, and they will foster a culture of learning and capacity building. Now, what is your role? I think briefly I talked about the role, okay? But when we are talking about the role of the local leaders, broadly we are looking at the local leaders that encompass all leaders from the district level up to the lowest level, isn't it? And you are part of them. They may be appointed or elected, and these local leaders play a vital role in delivering services to the community. And some of the services that we are talking about are there. We had already talked about them briefly. That is your role. You need to participate in the planning and budgeting. Okay? Monitoring, supervision, and providing oversight. Ensuring proper resource utilization and accountability. Enhancing local governance, law and order. Enhancing bylaws that benefit local communities. Executing and implementing policies. And mobilizing the community and fostering mindset change. And mindset change towards the government programs and projects. Because sometimes you will take a program, but because people do not even appreciate it, it won't be implemented. It's your role. So that's why, first and foremost, when you are a leader, today I'm not talking about leadership, but I will mention this, because as leaders, if you cannot walk the talk, if you cannot preach if you cannot practice what you preach, if you do not model the way, so how do you expect the people that you preside over to do that? So we expect the highest standards of ethical values from this team that is here, so that the others can follow, isn't it? So that's why I got disappointed when we were trying to mobilize you to keep quiet, and you understand? So in my mind, I'm like, how? These are the most honorable leaders in our localities, isn't it? Yes, you lead and others follow. That's my expectation, okay? Now, let's go to your role as enshrined in the Constitution. Does it make sense? So when you look at your role, as in Article 2031 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as amended, it says that there shall be a resident district commissioner for each district who will be a senior civil servant appointed by the president. The article outlines the roles of the RDC as to coordinate the administration, it is underlined, of government services in the district. Services in the district, administration, coordination. Does it talk about only one role? All the services in the district. Do you look at all of them? These are the questions. To advise the district chairperson, advise. But some of you don't advise. You just come and say, don't you know that I am the representative of the president? Hey, here I come. I am a big person. You must do what I am telling you. Hey, you must give this one a job, whether they are qualified or not. My mentor, Mr. Mulindo Abiru Mumas, I should have recognized you from the very start. So this gentleman here, he was my boss. He was the director of mass mobilization at the movement secretariat. Hey, and I think the last time we were here together, we spent 2 weeks. So many times, so many, and you people, you are very lucky. You are coming here when you have even a training room like this. Even you have hot water. Hey, you sleep in. For me, the first time I came here, I think I'd just come out of the university. I built my own. That time we were building our own. Does any of you know the late Zelda Wabusiagara? I shared a room, not a room. We built, me and her. Oh yes, we built it somewhere. And one time I will tell you a story, you will laugh. So, So, of course, the food was not good. So somehow we bought our chicken from from the locality around here, me and her, we prepared. She had a bodyguard, helped us to prepare our chicken as we were busy running around doing this and that. I think we ate a little bit of it at night and then kept it. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a pussycat or... So it helped itself on our sumptuous meal. But now in the morning we realized that something had tampered with it. So, and we were hungry. So we're like, should we eat it? Should we not eat it? Should we not eat it? So you people, you are just here in luxury. There was no clean water. Bathing, we were bathing from outside. There were no bathrooms. We just get water. We'd go and fetch water from down there. There is a dam. Very dirty water, but we would bathe. And we were enjoying ourselves. You know? So that is the Mr. Mulindo Abiri Mumas, Honorable from Chazanga. So that's what we were doing. You here, you are just enjoying. So this is your role. And then, of course, you must advise. So how are you advising? It's advisory. When you advise me, I can take your advice. I may not. I may not. You understand? It's advisory. But what do you do as an RDC? If they don't take your advice and things are going wrong, you make a report. Don't fight people. Yeah. Make a report, but now we are going to agree. How do we ensure that your reports are acted upon? Those recommendations that you work on, and that's where my office comes in. Okay? So that is your role. That is your role. So Article 7 again of the Local Government Act mentions the same. You monitor, you inspect, but also you provide advice. The RDC therefore plays a critical role of oversight and coordination, as well as providing guidance to local leaders. Oversight and coordination, that's where my role is. How do we work together? How do you monitor? How do you coordinate? How do you make your recommendations? And then government is able to take action on the recommendations that you are making. But ladies and gentlemen, when you are making your recommendations, let those recommendations be factual, based on data of monitoring. Don't sit on your desk and say, I had, however I had, and then you start writing recommendations. Please. You are in the district. If you made your report, the entire district, the entire year, you are not able to monitor and look at the key service delivery areas. Where you are not sure, use technical people to help you. Okay? And you do that. So what have we done? I want to make a comment on what I've seen, what seems to be happening. What I have seen that RDCs have done, you seem to have locked yourselves in the corner of security. Isn't it? When you ask any ordinary person, they will tell you the role of an RDC is security. Full stop. Am I lying? You have locked yourselves, most of you actually, in the corner. Me, I tell the truth. In the corner of security. I don't know what Mr. Bashasha you think. You also look at their reports. You are supposed to monitor. He has his indicators as the manifesto secretariat. So, but in your monitoring tool, have you picked those indicators and looked at them? NDP. Remember I was talking about how we performed during the midterm review. I said it is 17%, but you didn't know. So which reports are you looking at? You should be analyzing and saying, we are now going to NDP 4. This is how we performed poorly. The reason responsible, one of them is in our docket. Weak coordination and monitoring and supervision and inspection. That was one of the major reasons for performing at 17%. Why? People get money and divert it. And service delivery is at local government, isn't it? That's where we want to see impact. So what have we done? What have we done? You remember the bottlenecks I talked about? The bottlenecks that I talked about. I want us to look at our service delivery like we need to take a turnaround. I can assure you, if your office worked very closely with our office, we would definitely have a turnaround. I want us to use an analogy of a roundabout. You know what is happening in the city center? They are removing all roundabouts. Why? They cause jam. Hey. So we also have bottlenecks that are causing a service delivery jam. So let's remove all these roundabouts, and now we turn around and move straight. And you have the answer, you have the key. You are very, very big people. But let us do the right thing, you know? So how much contribution, for example, you ask the right questions. If I am posted to a district, what do I do first? What do you do first when you are posted the first time you reach? What do you do? Courtesy call. Leadership. After that? After that? You study the environment. To do what? Hand over report, you look at it. What else? You need to carry out a survey to understand the state of service delivery in that district. So how do you improve what you don't know? You understand? So the first thing, if I were an RDC, I go to a place, even a chairperson of the movement, you work together. Isn't your destination the same? Work together. Go out, check the state of service delivery, the schools, the health centers, the whatever. Understand how the service delivery is. You know? So you need to understand the state of service delivery, how much income is generated, for example, because your district must also contribute to the national economy. Do you know how much you are contributing as a district? Do you know? Hey, you need to know how much. So, and what are those areas that are bringing in money? You know, is it agriculture? Is it fishing? So check it out. How is it doing? I went to Mpiji some time back, actually before I was appointed here. When I was in local government, I went to Mpiji and I asked the district agriculture officer. There was someone who was in charge of fishery. They call them fisheries officers. So I was checking the record and I said, this fisheries guy, I asked him, I said, where is your work plan? What have you done? Do you know what the guy told me? That there is no lake or something, so he has no work plan. I said, hey, you can't even do ponds here. Then I said, why don't you go back and say that they should remove you from this position? You understand? So what are those areas of production and productivity in the district? How are they? What is the state? How can you improve? So what is your contribution as a district to the national economy? And you have an opportunity. I told you, for you people, you are trusted layers of leadership, you know, because you represent the president. Identify the service delivery indicators. What are the service delivery indicators that you are going to track? For example, now when we talk of 2025, 2026, what indicators are you going to track? And they should be informed by the challenges you have identified. You asked this person to help you and they refuse to give you any information. Check what is in the NDP 4. Check the indicators. Have you looked at what they call the PAPs? Do you know PAPs? Do you know PAPs? Hey, we are in trouble. The performance implementation plans. You know, now we are using programs, not sectors. You are aware of that? So when you go to those plans, they normally indicate the interventions and the indicators. That's where you can get indicators from. And then you pick the critical indicators and you keep following them. You put them in your tool and say, this is what I'm going to track. We were here when I did the baseline survey, and this is where we are going according to the plan. And when we did the national service, what do they call it? The UBOS did what? The census. Some of those indicators, the baselines were picked from the census, and they are there in those documents. You know, the devil is in the detail. Ladies and gentlemen, you must read. You must be current. That's why these people are telling you lies, because they know you won't read. They will tell you lies and lies and lies and lies. And then when you are writing your reports, you are writing reports that actually do not make sense. You've not read. Let us not be trivial. Let us look at things that matter. And the moment you start to do you want to tell me that when you start doing these things, you want to get money? You want to get the money to do your work? But if every day you are only reporting on security, 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 and there are many other security agencies, sometimes they even have better reports than you. Hey. So your role is bigger than only security. So I want to say this, that today is your turning point. Let today be your turning point. Let us look at service delivery in totality. Let us have a whole of government approach. Let us go to the district and understand what are their work plans, what are the budgets that have been released, what is it supposed to do, what are the indicators of performance, how am I going to monitor. You must therefore have a 360 degrees purview of the district where you are. Those who are feeling uncomfortable, please, you can stand. I don't want to talk to you while you are dozing. It's not my fault that I came in when it was very hot and after taking heavy breakfast. Okay? So that is what it is. So what are the good practices? So the good practices for you as local leaders, as RDCs in monitoring, is to stay informed. I've already said those things. I summarize, then I give you the slides. You stay informed about the projects and programs in your district. You review the district stroke city development plan, annual and quarterly work plans. You look at the approved annual budgets. You look at the project documents. Do you look at the project documents for those projects in your district? Do you know what they are supposed to do? The timelines of the projects, how much and what they're supposed to do, the beneficiaries, and then you keep monitoring to see the impact, whether they are delivering or not. That's what I want to see. And the moment you start doing that, people will start fearing you. They will know this guy, he knows what they are doing. You know? You need to look at the bills of quantities. You need to familiarize yourself with the funding of your district. Is it what they are receiving for PDM and other flagship programs of the president? You need to understand the key projects being implemented in your district, their cost, the beneficiaries, project timelines, the start and end dates. You need to define the aim of the scope of monitoring when you are monitoring. Will your monitoring be monthly or quarterly? You define that. You know? You need to prepare a monitoring plan. As I said, don't be reactive. You must have that monitoring plan. You need to plan for communication and the use of M&E results. How are you going to use the M&E results? You've monitored, you've inspected, you've evaluated. So how do you want to use the results? How can they be implemented? Don't let them remain in your desks and they gather dust. I know these are some of the challenges, but we are going together to agree how we resolve the challenges. You will tell me the challenges, the vehicles, and so on. I've also recognized that you have some resource constraints, and in terms of funding, in terms of time, in terms of skilled human resources, in terms of the tools like computers and vehicles. I do appreciate that you have these challenges, but let them not blind us, because the question is, of the resources that you have in terms of time, the vehicle you have, the little fuel you have, and the people that are around you, the technical people, how much have you, how much can you be accountable for? Or what have you delivered within the resources that you have, okay? There is a challenge of data collection and reporting, and this includes inaccurate and incomplete or inconsistent data. Sometimes you may ask for information from these technical people and they give you wrong data. I also receive it, sometimes they give me blank. They have no baselines, but I send it back and I say, I need this data, okay? We also have political interests, and this is largely due to lack of a common understanding about the purpose of M&E. Sometimes we bring in our political interests and it blinds us to the realities on the ground. Please, let's not do that, because we are not going to give the right information to help in taking the right decisions. Let us be as objective as possible when we are monitoring, when we are generating this data, when we are making our reports, okay? We also have capacity gaps, of course, lack of...
How do you do it? You know, these are the questions that we need to ask and answer. What are the areas of collaboration with Office of the Prime Minister? The Office of the Prime Minister is by constitution responsible or mandated.
Competence to actually understand some of these projects. But you can rely on the expertise of some technical officers. Some technical officers are willing to give you information, but it depends how you approach them. If you come and you want to say, look here, I'm the president in this district, and you have no choice but to obey my commands, I will hide the information. Yes. So you need to have the leadership competencies of ensuring that you are able to enlist support from the technical officers to support you to deliver your mandate. Is that okay? Yes, President's office, I think one of the things that you need to do is to, I don't know whether you have someone who's going to be talking about the issue of leadership. Leadership and management and supervision and so on. It's very, very critical. So someone should talk about those things, eh? Yeah, the other challenges, of course, is inadequate follow-up of mechanisms that sometimes you recommend and no action is taken, lack of stakeholder engagement. And one of the things that makes us feel like the resources are not adequate, we do not collaborate. Like you have the movement chairpersons here, they want to work in silos. The RDC, this is mine, Chino Change, this is my area, don't interfere. So if you are able to collaborate and work together, it makes your work very easy. So of course I talk lack of clear objectives and indicators. Without well-defined objectives and indicators, it's difficult to design and implement an M&E system. Have the indicators that you are following. You may not follow up all the indicators, but if you go to a district and you say there is a challenge in this service area, there is a challenge in this, you can say for this financial year, let me concentrate on this service because it is impacting on service delivery. So you can start with a few indicators in the area that you want to look at, and that informs your plan. So what are the strategies? What are some of the strategies that we can agree on that can help us improve? You can adopt a phased approach, like I said, where the resources are not adequate. Don't say we don't have money, we've not done anything, and you sit down. I always quarrel with my public officers. Then I say, but you're supposed to monitor and evaluate. You've not done anything. Even you've not been able to monitor within the same ministry. Huh? Then you say, I don't have fuel. So you need to adopt that sequential approach to ensure that you bite what you're able to chew at a time, and subsequently you will get what you want. You need to strengthen collaboration and partnerships as I said earlier on. You need to leverage technology, work with those young people. I have seen very many young officers here and your deputies. So it means you can support your seniors who are not able to leverage technology. Support them. If they don't accept you, discipline them. Discipline them. You also have assistant RDCs. And most of them, I believe, are very young. Hey, sit with them, give them assignments, tell them that your role is to do this. When we come from the field, you are going to use this information. You run it out, you do an analysis, you give me tables, you give me the right data that I can present to my seniors. Hey, leverage, because for them, they seem to be more technology savvy, except better than you. You need to advocate for capacity building and training. This is part of it, and it helps you. You need to promote local ownership of monitoring and evaluation processes. Teamwork and stakeholder engagement, it increases acceptance and uptake of M&E. Because there are times when you may find that what you've identified during your monitoring, it doesn't require to just sit and write a report. You can resolve it internally. So you can cause a meeting between all the stakeholders. And how you invite them, how you communicate, matters in terms of uptake of the recommendations that come out. Do not keep always throwing it to them that you are the presidential representative. Tell them that all of you are interested in service delivery improvements. Work with them, have those meetings of the different sectors in the district, and say, this is a challenge that is here with us. And if you collaborate, it won't be insurmountable. So you need to do all that. You can also have M&E champions. You know, this can be in parliament and cabinet who can regularly advocate for M&E. So you can have them discuss and tell them that this is what we want to do, but we are unable. Okay? There is also time and budget constraints. This requires establishing realistic timelines for M&E activities. I had already talked about that. Okay? So there is an example that I wanted us to talk about, but in the interest of time, is the next presenter here already? I brought you a case study of where joint monitoring can help. But one of the areas of collaboration that I would want us to agree on between your office and my office is that at least once a year, we should be able to work together. When I send out my teams, they can work with you. We can have joint monitoring visits or inspection visits. Because you are the people who know. You are the people who know. You can take us to the projects where you say, this project has stalled completely. So we want to see how we can start collaborating with you. We have so many people who come from the office of the Prime Minister. They go out to the local governments, but I don't know to what extent they involve you in their monitoring and evaluations. I don't know. But I really want to cause a meeting. We've already agreed with the Secretariat, RDC Secretariat, that we are going to have a meeting and agree on clear collaboration areas and how we can regularly do joint inspections to ensure that at the end of the day, we have joint recommendations to government on how to improve service delivery. So that is one example of UGIFT where joint monitoring has been able to help in terms of coming up with appropriate recommendations. And this has been involving teams from ministries, line ministries, OPM, Ministry of Finance, local government, public service, and those teams were able to work together and it helped. So we want to see if this is a very good mechanism, how do we strengthen joint inspections, joint monitorings with all the teams and structures that are involved in this so that we can come up with better recommendations. My major, this is in conclusion, I want us to look at the takeaways. I've said very many words. You will get the soft copy. Yes, we shall give you the soft copy. You don't have to write all this. Do you have email addresses? Yes. All of you? Yes. Hey, they will give you the soft copies. Because we also want, this is one of the cost-saving measures. We don't have to keep printing all the time. So you can read from your laptops and tablets. So the takeaways, I want us to agree on those takeaways. Number one, before you do monitoring, before you do any inspection, before you do a supervision visit, you must have a stock of government programs and projects in your area of jurisdiction. How many of you know all the projects and flagship programs of the president? How many of you have that stock, have that listing of all the programs and projects in your district? I want to see the hands up. Don't just hide. I want to see. You see, there are very few. Oh yeah. So how are you going to monitor them if you don't know? So this is the takeaway. As I said, we are not here to apportion blame. We are here to learn from each other, and we are here, and we agreed that today, let it today be our turning point. We have removed the roundabouts now that are clogging the system. Have we removed them? Some of them. Let's remove all of them. You are waiting for me to work with you. I am here. So we are going to have a stock of government programs in your district. If you don't have it when you live here, start with that. Let's start with the next financial year. By the way, we are working on the 2025-2026. Because we are ending the last financial year ends in June, but at the same time it coincides with the end of NDP3. And the challenges that we faced in NDP3 have been, as we crafted NDP4, they tried to address them. But as I said, one of them was weak coordination, monitoring, and inspection. And you are the chief inspectors here. You are the ones who do M and E. And we have agreed that today is a turning point. So where do we go from here? I'm giving you the tips. Start by ensuring you have a list of all government programs and projects in your area of jurisdiction. The start date, the end date, the amount, the beneficiaries, how much money has been released, and so on. You need to prepare project monitoring checklists and templates. So when you are going to the field, you must have a checklist of all the services. Ladies and gentlemen, don't look only at security. We've been in the corner of security. Now we are saying we are broader than security. Security is important, but we must look also at other service delivery areas, the sectors. So the checklist must be able to be all-embracing. And so that the checklist you use, the RDC uses the same checklist, the deputy RDC uses that, and the assistant RDC, and the movement chairperson has the same checklist. So you are checking the same things, and when you come back, you can compare notes. Come up with checklists and templates. You must have regular reporting. No. You must develop a monitoring and evaluation plan. After you have done that, you must have a plan. Because you can't do everything in the same financial year, isn't it? You will say, this week I'm doing this, the other. You first make sure that your work plan for the year is divided in 2 quarters. Then the quarters, you come down to monthly plan. And then now it becomes weekly and then daily. So that you are not reactive. When something comes up, then you add it onto your plan. Don't sit and wait because you are reactive. They've told me there is a problem here. There is a problem with this community here, they are fighting. Oh, the president has sent me to go and represent him and give a speech. And now, no. Those things will come in but in addition to the plan that you have. Is that okay? So you must have a plan. You develop a monitoring and evaluation plan. You must participate in joint monitoring activities organized by your respective districts. Make sure you vouch for this joint district monitoring. But also, I need to add the one that we are going to start doing from the center. That Office of the Prime Minister wants to partner with you so that we can periodically have joint monitoring sessions with you. You need to also design, you need to have regular reporting and provide timely feedback to project implementers and beneficiaries, but also to the project owners. If the president is the project owner of PDM, I've seen him go to some places and they call the RDC and you cannot even explain what PDM is all about. You understand? Then they say Emioga, then you start stammering. So you need to know what you are talking about. Otherwise, you cannot justify renewal of your contract. You understand? Hey, justify the renewal of your contract and also additional resources to do your job. You need to design a follow-up mechanism of emerging issues and recommendations. You have called a meeting, the district meeting, and you've said these are the issues that impact on service delivery and you want us to agree. You must come up with agreed actions on how to improve service delivery. But you must have a plan of follow-up on what you have agreed to see. What you agreed on is being implemented. Okay? Yeah, so that needs to be done. Can you add on some of the things that you are going to do from here? I have given you some of the things that you are going to do. We've agreed you are going to rise to the occasion.
Monitoring, evaluation, inspection of government programs, projects, and policies. Overall. So everyone who is doing that is under the supervision of the Office of the Prime Minister. So if you are doing that role, because...
But to us, the chairpersons, we have ready to work academically, because the legal regime currently that is in place does not at all bring that out or bring in chairpersons into the monitoring. We don't appear anywhere. We are not told. We don't have anything substantial that we can play. You can go to the office of RDC, it's at the pleasure of the RDC.
To allow you.
To allow you even to invite you to put you at the back of the pickup. But what is the we don't exist anywhere in the legal framework.
Okay, the chairperson is saying that they do not appear anywhere in the legal framework. Even in terms of monitoring, they will be at the mercy of RDCs to involve them in the monitoring. Is that true? Eh? So let's listen.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Head of Public Service. May I think a chairperson is the owner of the manifesto, through which all of us, we implement and monitor. They are the owners. They have the direct mandate, the direct direction to service delivery to anything in the district. Thank you so much.
Do you want to talk about the issue of the movement chairpersons and their role and how they can work?
Cross. Can we have order? I don't know whether the arms I see have answers. You have answers to what you asked? Yes. You want to answer? I am asking. I see many arms up. Yet you had put a question here. So the question is, the arms I see, do they want to answer what you put across here? Okay. Then I will now come in after I had listened to your answers. Are these answers or questions?
I will be very brief. I would like to thank you for waking yourself up and waking the government of Uganda up and waking the chief of planning of the economy of Uganda. Because what you are doing is exactly what these people want you to do. I have risen up to say next week I'm going to walk into the RDC's office and I'll be very hard on him. I know how hard I can be. He must tell me. Because I have no facility, I don't receive any report, I'm not invited to meetings, I'm not allowed to make any comments, but starting next week, and if he doesn't perform, I'm going to report where I'm supposed to report about this. I'm going to report.
Cross? Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Head of Service. And I think what you see here, the reaction that is coming from our members, is that this has been an outstanding challenge. And I want also to confess that on our side, as part of government, like I had observed from my remarks, is that for us in government, we are agents. And for you, the party people are the owners. Now, along the way, I think these people conceive the ideas and go to the masses and convince them, and we are given leadership. Now, when it comes to formation of government and power and the implementation of what ideas they sold to the people, they bring these ideas and hand them over to us.
My role, well, I was appointed because there was a need, there was a gap, which was timely, to coordinate implementation of government programs.
There has been a missing link on this, whereby the chairman, as owners of these ideas and the conceivers of these ideas, can also have the opportunity to assess and see how far these ideas are going. But I also want to say that all has not been lost. Because through this and many other engagements and retreats, we also come to account. Yes, because when we have you here as the party people, and that's what I was trying to tell you about last night, that your coming here is intentional. And many of you have attended these retreats of the manifesto explaining the progress. They have been very intentional because it is also incumbent upon us to make accountability to the what? To the party. Now, what is coming here that is probably needs further refinement between the party and the government is where the party members can come in to be directly involved in the monitoring of the implementation. Are we together? That's not how we answer.
Yes, sir.
Are we together?
Yes, sir.
Do I smell?
Yes, sir.
So, I think going forward, you know, like I said, some of these, when we are here, we are also ambassadors of certain views that may come here that impact on how the subject matter that is under discussion here is being affected. And this is not the first time that we have tried to push this matter to the other authorities. One way, and which the government, I think, was trying to look at, was how to amend the Local Government Act and allow chairpersons of the party become ex-officials of district councils. I don't know whether this was done. It's not yet done. It's not quarrel. Now we are on the same page. You know the problem when we are here, we tend to cause. I see somebody behind there. Proposing on how it can make sure that the party chairpersons are part of the local government. And I wouldn't want to go deeper because we shall have a presentation from the PS, Ministry of Local Government. Because this act is executed by the Ministry of Local Government. So, the point you are observing here is very valid. We are not in denial. It is very valid. And I think the presentation from Madam Deputy Head of Service is trying also to see how do we improve on this coordination so that service delivery on the ground is to the beneficial of the citizens. Are we together? But this one was over quarreling. What's your problem?
I have a problem, but I want to contribute, Mr. Director. Mr. Director, I was not quarreling, but I was requesting you to give us ample time to raise some of the issues you want to know.
We are going to give you an opportunity, and it is my last slide.
I wanted to reduce the fire, so it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so I am very happy that you have talked about that. The issue of chairpersons being involved in service delivery. Can we park the question for the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Local Government? But I want to advise the gentleman, remember you said from tomorrow when you go back, you are going to go to the RDC's office. But this gentleman here, they have the indicators in terms of the manifesto commitments. Before you go, you remember I told you, you must have information. First ask him to give you the indicators that are tagged to the commitments in the manifesto, so that when you are going to ask, you are also informed and say, these are the things that we are supposed to be doing. Remember for you, for the RDC, this one is asking about, because he's the owner of the party, he's only asking about the commitments of the NRM in terms of the manifesto. But RDC, there are other people also who are going to be asking for accountability from you from other service delivery areas. So let's leave it at that. I'm aware they are reviewing the Local Government Act, and this is the right time for you to raise the issue with the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Local Government. But let's park that for now. Now, in terms of, these are the takeaways, and this is what I expect you to do when you leave. Now, these are the questions. I think these are the last questions that I have. I want you to think about them. Now, The question number 1 talks about what is itching you and what is impeding service delivery. I'm going to give you an appropriate to answer. Let's first talk about the other 3, then we end with number 1. Is that okay? Now, from this training, from the training that we've had from my session, I think it's time for you in your different docket to think about what is at stake in 2025, 2026. I said this is a time when we want to do things differently. This is a turning point. We are going to elections, but in addition to elections, we are saying, let us provide the right services so that people do not have to keep asking and using it as an electioneering gimmick. And they start saying, you've not done this, PDM is a sham, it's only the people who are there who are taking the things, blah, 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 blah. So what is your role? Ensure that service delivery is happening, ensure that the president's flagship programs are effective and are efficiently being executed, and then you will be able to have something to say as we go to. So what is at stake in 2025? What is at stake? You need to answer that question in your local government. And then you propose 5 agendas for 2025, 2026. Come up with your agenda and say, in order to improve service delivery, in order for me to ensure that the president wins the elections, in order for, this is what I am going to do. Well, at least 5, I'm mentioning at least 5 agendas on the basis of what is at stake. Then what are the areas of collaboration with Office of the Prime Minister? My office, what are we going to work together? How are we going to work together? In terms of reporting, we've already agreed that we shall share reports. I will discuss with the Secretariat, RDCs Secretariat, agree how we share reports and recommendations arising out of your offices, but please make sure that you are sending me evidence-based recommendations arising out of your monitoring and inspection visits. We are also going to look at, you hold barazas in the local governments. We are going to see how we work together. I don't have to go into the details. That's an area that we want to look at. But I've also talked about joint inspections and monitorings. We are going to work with the Secretariat and see how we work together, but also share your information to inform decision making. There are many areas we can look at, but you can look at it and make recommendation as you end the training program here at the end. You are here for 2 weeks? 1 week? Oh, so you are on 5 days. So at the end of the 5 days, you can come up with a recommendation of how we can work together, and then we will get the report from the manifesto implementation unit as far as what you are recommending. So now we go back to the question that is number 1. What is impeding service delivery? What is impacting on your performance? What are the issues? That's what you asked. So maybe we could start from you. Yeah. So that is the last bit of it. So we can look at that question. What is itching you? What is impeding service delivery? And as I said, don't talk about vehicles. Yes, we know. Don't talk about, I want real issues. The vehicles, they are already handling, they know. So let's not talk about vehicles.
One of the challenges of Madam between the federal government and the government. There is a one course and every finance.
You're coming over for this, we don't need to pepe. I go
majorly the work of civil servant, and poor service delivery leads to very poor results of elections, because the wananchi will not be satisfied with what is being delivered. That is one. Number two, I want to give this example here.
You can use this.
It's not loud enough.
Is it okay?
In most urban areas of Uganda, take Kampala city, take Gulu city, take any other city, normally NRM candidates do very badly. Why? Because of poor service delivery and performance. These are people, allies, who know what they want and what the government should do. You don't do it, they'll not vote for any candidate of NRM. NRM has improved its service delivery. I call it poor. In this particular retreat of the manifesto implementation, if we want to correct the wrongs that are happening in this country, we must speak like the opposition so that we correct these wrong things. We have problems.
As we wait for the amendment of the Local Government Act, can it be a presidential directive that with effect from after this workshop or retreat, the chairpersons, NRM, are considered and facilitated for monitoring, so that as we wait for the rest of the process, it can be done? Because the NRM government, we receive some small facilitation for the offices, and the admins of the NRM. Can we therefore say we also have that? Secondly, on the issue of the 17%, the Ministry of Finance is going to be here. This performance is not basically because of the poor monitoring, but basically because of the budget cuts by Ministry of Finance. Because local governments have a lot of functions, activities that are to be implemented, but then they are sometimes not funded. And lastly, as I go to sit down, can we harmonize the technical monitoring with the community-based monitoring, which we will do as RDCs and chairpersons, because several times we find that the technical people, particularly the engineers, give out the certificates of completion, but when the works are not properly done, what do we do instead? Can we have that harmonized?
Cause, can I request, I know, let us be brief so that more people can ask their genuine questions. And because if we ask many questions after a lot of stories, we take a lot of time. So my humble appeal to all of you, please ask one question and
Abubakari are my names. Chairman NRM Iganga. What is itching me? It is corruption.
And my issue is, the problem is there is no coordination between the stakeholders. For example, I'm the chairperson NRM Kabarole. We don't know who receives that information that we are supposed to monitor on, right from inception. And there's miscoordinated move. And in my view, we may not get the same answer for the whole country. It was absurd when the last presenter, the director, presented here. He mentioned
My concern, I just want to put emphasis what the chairman talked of. That is corruption. Corruption
We have projects in the Park District that are stagnant up to today. We should have handed them over like by last year, December. But because the release is delay, is what is also affecting service delivery. Then number 2, I just want to ask a question to Madam Janet. Why, especially this is touching your under the Ministry of OPM.
Happen to have worked in West Nile, in Madiokolo in particular. And in Madiokolo, there is one sub-county, but accessing it, it was cut off by the river. That sub-county called Ewanga. But accessing it, you would go through Arua, then connect to Koboko, then Yumbe. But it's not hard to reach. What does it take for a district to become hard to reach? Thank you so much.
My name is Msingozi Peter, NRM Chairperson Bunyangabu. I draw your attention to 2 things. The first one is on the road fund. Road fund. The President's initiative of giving each district 1 billion and buying a road unit is an excellent intervention. But the problem now is on the entire Western region, that the 15 districts in Western Uganda have 1 mechanical workshop in Imbarara. My recommendation is, can't we have decentralized roles, say, for port handling a few districts, so the road unit is not down. The second one is on hybrid procurement. Can't the central government help us, local governments, not give 1 contractor, say 3 secondary schools, 3 seed schools to 1 contractor, and he can't do it within 1 year and the money is taken back to Kampala? How I wished you empowered the district procurement committees, the contracts committees to do those contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Facilitator. I'm Bazara Lawrence Kakumiro, NRM. My concern is we have a challenge. local government. Give an example. You find that the ministry is awarding a school at 300 million, and it gives the district 100 million to do the same work. When it is giving let me say like a road, they count a kilometer at 15 million. They give 3 million, a district do what? At the end, the district does substandard work. Secondly, inadequate payment to our service providers, our human resource. You find someone who is working in the ministry, let me give you an example, a cleaner is earning money which
in government should be put to the court martial with an amendment of the law. Hey, you clap for me. Put to court martial and eventually they take them. China corrected corruption by firing a squad.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the questions. Let's listen and we quickly get out of here. There are so many questions, but some of them I will combine them. Some were proposals which we can take, and they will be part of the recommendations arising out of your meeting here, isn't it? And government will look at them and see how we can implement them. You've raised an issue of lack of communication from the central government to local government. I do know this, and I appreciate it's a big concern that sometimes there is no communication properly. And the area you raised basically was on, for example, you don't even have the information on the resources that are released. And it is you are right to know how much has been released. Actually, we should be, if you go on the PBS, the system on Ministry of Finance, you should be able to get this information, how much is released. But you should be able to go to the chief administrative officers, like the RDCs, and you ask for this information. If you cannot get it, you can get it from Ministry of Finance. Yes, you need to know. This one is not a request. This one is a must-have information. And I said it from the beginning, there is no way you are going to monitor unless you have information on the projects, the money released, both the GOU, donor, even for NGOs, even for any TR that is being collected. It's your responsibility to ensure you know. But now we have agreed we are going to work together, isn't it? I want you to identify those areas which you think we can help you to answer some of these questions, okay? So when you have any challenge, we shall be working collaboratively. Some local governments take back resources at the end of the financial year because resources are released late. Yes, I know this is a challenge. Is finance coming? Talk to the Ministry of Finance, but I know you won't get any satisfactory answer on this, but I will give you advice on what to do. One thing that happens is that there is a tendency to raise money late in the financial year. But I want to tell you one thing. The procurement guidelines are very clear, but some of our people don't know what to do. If you know you have planned, the money has not yet come, nothing stops you from the first quarter. You start the process of procurement. You don't sign the contract. You do everything. That's what we advised, the terms of reference, if you want bills of quantity, everything. You only wait for the money. So the moment the money lands in, even if it comes in the fourth quarter, just pay. You understand? So you must continue until the last. But most local governments and actually the central government, our technical people don't do this. You are supposed to start, you don't sign the contract until the money comes. So that is one way of solving the problem. And you can preside over this and guide your technical officers in the local government. Poor service delivery leads to loss of elections. We've talked about that. It was the basis of my presentation. I did mention this over and over again. And I said, yes, we are the people who are in charge of service delivery. Let us ensure we improve services. Where we are not able to, let us make our reports, evidence-based reports, on the basis of our monitoring to inform evidence-based decision-making, okay? And someone was giving an example of cities and urban centers, like we don't win elections in Kampala, in cities, in Kawempe, you are talking about, because these people, the citizens, they know what they want, they are looking for the services we have not delivered, and then they end up taking, affecting the election results. So this is our role as leaders. I had someone the other day who was saying the president should punish all the local leaders here, that they are the ones who made NRM lose because of poor service delivery, isn't it? So that's what you are saying, and I entirely agree with you. Someone was making a proposal of chairpersons of NRM to be involved in monitoring. And as we said, the PS of Ministry of Local Government will be coming here. Please park that question. Can we see, like they proposed that the chairpersons can be ex-officio members, but also they should be facilitated in terms of vehicles, but also resources to participate in monitoring the NRM manifesto commitments. Is that okay? So that one, Mr. Bashasha, this is to you. They are saying that process, because it seems to be recurrent throughout. They are not recognized structurally, but also they are not properly facilitated. The president promised them vehicles. They haven't received the vehicles, and they want to have a meeting with him. Can you put it as part of the resolution? Because I heard the Secretary of the President saying it is going to happen before we go to the elections. So let it be one of those recommendations arising out of your meeting here. 17%, I want to say yes. I didn't want to underscore the issue of weak monitoring, because I said that we performed at 17% in NDP3, not only because of the weak monitoring and coordination system, but there are other challenges. I didn't want to go into that. I only talked about what concerns us. So I know there are other challenges in terms of fiscal transfers and so on, but let's first clean our own house and then we look at the other areas. What is our role in strengthening coordination and monitoring of government programs and projects? Why do we concentrate only in one area and we don't look at other service delivery services? Service delivery areas. Corruption, 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 corruption. I don't have an answer to corruption. Even you are saying that the agencies that are supposed to fight corruption are also corrupt. That's what you are saying. So what is your recommendation? So I don't want us to answer it now. Can we put it in the one of the, do you normally have evening discussions? Can you have a discussion on corruption and the measures to address corruption? But for me, I know the answers. Some of them I know. But one of the things that Office of the Prime Minister is we are trying to work on is the one-stop centers. How many of you have gone to Kenya and have seen what they call Huduma centers? Huduma centers. You've seen them. You see, sometimes people are corrupt. They give bribes and receive bribes because of services which are not accessible. You want to give kitu kidogo because you want to access a service. But if you make these services accessible to the people, so they won't have any need to. But of course now the other corruption you are talking about is the other one, the official one, where you are saying the Auditor General's people, they go, they give wrong information. I mean, they do not do the right audit because they are given money. That's what you are saying. Isn't Auditor General coming here? Do we have anyone? Someone from Office of the Auditor General. Anti-Corruption Unit. So you are going to give this question to the Anti-Corruption Unit and tell them that the anti-corruption agencies you have observed are also corrupt and therefore making matters worse. But for us, we want to start by ensuring that we improve service delivery so that there is no need for the ordinary person to give a bribe to receive a service. So we are working on that. We shall be coming to you to tell you how we intend to move. We cannot move without you. Lack of coordination of stakeholders. You are not working together as a team. But I've already told you that we are going to convene a meeting of all who are involved in coordination of implementation of government programs, and we shall come up and forge a way or strategies of working together and how you can get information when you need it. Someone talked about the industrial park. There are some of the things that you need to put in your reports so that they come and we see. And this I will answer it together with someone raised an issue of saying that there are some projects that have completely stalled, they are delayed, even when resources are released for those projects. We've said that I will be moving with my team as part of my familiarization. Actually, you remember I told you that when you go to a district, you should do a baseline survey to understand the state of service delivery in your docket. But I'm also doing a survey, I am doing a familiarization tour to the entire country, the West, the Central, to all regions. And when I come, one of the things, we've received some reports on projects that have stalled. I want to go to those projects. But in case you have them, please send us reports. We should be going to the field, I think, after next week. We will be going to the field, and some of the projects we want to go and see them. and make our reports. We've already received some from the Office of the Prime Minister, from the monitoring team. But if you have them, not only today, but continuously give us reports so that we can help you to come and take action on why those projects are stalling even when resources have been given. And I want to promise that I don't want to be like those you talked about, that when we talk, then you call us, you send us information, we ignore you. We will be listening to you because we need you, we need your reports. But give me the right information, don't give me wrong information. The moment I find out you are giving me wrong information, then I will stop receiving it. Issue of presidential pledges, someone talked about presidential pledges, and I think Mr. Kakande, Haji Kakande talked about the pledges and what they are doing. I have already talked about the NRM chairpersons, they are not being facilitated, and we've agreed you are going to organize a meeting for them with the president before we go to elections. But someone should talk about those promises to the chairpersons. Yes. The civil servants and permanent and pensionable, you are recommending contract. Yes, I hear you. We made these proposals long ago, but we are coming up with something different. I don't want to go into the details. Yes, this is a serious issue, but we are working on something to ensure that these civil servants are accountable. And since I'm in charge of performance and service delivery, performance is one of the areas. I don't want us to go into the details for today, but we know this and we are going to work on it. Lack of response from facilitators, I've already mentioned. I will respond to you as long as you give me the right information. Someone talked about money for borders from Office of the Prime Minister and so on. I'm told we can park this issue. Mr. Bashasha, you've promised that someone will be coming to talk about this. So the lady who raised this, we have parked your question. It will be responded to by another facilitator. Yes, I can see you there. Barazas, yes, they currently are not being effective. It's one of my areas because I cannot improve service delivery without barazas. I have asked an officer at the Office of the Prime Minister who is responsible for local governments to come up with a concept paper on how to improve and strengthen barazas. We shall be coming to you to tell you how we are going to strengthen this. But we also want to do it at the center, not only at the local government level, we are going to do it at the center. Projects that are stagnant, I've already answered, give me information, but we are also coming to check them. We shall let you know as we come. Please give us all the information when we come to you when we are doing our familiarization, monitoring and inspection. But also remember, we are talking of having joint inspections. I'm planning at least every year we have one joint inspection. We shall be working with you and see how we come up with one report coming up with government recommendations for action. Why the rush? It is still the same. Why the rush? When you are planning, the lady who raised the rush as you buy the goats in Karamoja and so on. Once it is in the plan, make sure you plan early, and when it comes, you immediately implement. However, if you have not done this in time, they want to rush you, and you know you are going to do a wrong thing and end up falling into problems, don't do it. You would rather take back the money and deal with the Accountant General's office and tell them that the money has come in late, you want to do it. I think there is a way you can have that money carried forward to another financial year. Don't do shoulder work. You can have a conversation with Accountant General's office and tell them that you cannot do this, and then you want the money I don't know whether they do an appropriation again, but this is something you can discuss with. Yes, you can ask for permission. I know it happens. I remember one time we did it when I was in the Ministry of Public Service. So don't rush, don't do wrong things because they've given you money late. That also affects service delivery. Consider review of appointment of district service commissions. Yes, and I want to assure you this has been one of my major recommendations. And I want you to raise it with the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Local Government, when he comes. And he knows we have discussed this as they review the Local Government Act. We need to review the appointment of District Service Commission, because currently they are recommended by the chairpersons. And then later on, they bring in the people they know will do what they want them to do. That one I know. This one I know very well, and it is impacting on, because we end up recruiting people who are not competent, and it affects service delivery at the end of the day. We need to review and get the right people. So you can take it up with him, but I will also take it up with the PS local government. Hard to reach. What determines hard to reach? Sorry? Hard to reach is a policy. I remember this is a policy that we came up with when I was still in public service. I was charged of policy and procedures. Actually, this was my policy. However, the list of those beneficiaries is not static. It changes. There are those that were not were hard to reach, but have since moved on, and they have improved in terms of infrastructure and the social amenities, and they are no longer hard to reach. Those should be removed from the list. There are those that have become even municipalities and whatever, town councils, and they are no longer hard to reach. They have good roads, they have water, they have electricity, no longer hard to reach. So those should be removed, and then there are those that also come in, they should also be recognized. So if you have a challenge, write to Ministry of Public Service, tell them the reasons why you think it should be a hard to reach area, they will consider it. However, hard to reach was not supposed to remain like this in terms of paying allowances to the public officers and so on. It was supposed to be temporary, so that when we designate areas as hard to reach, in the spirit of whole of government approach and collaboration, all the sectors, they work together to ensure that now they provide those facilities to those particular areas that are hard to reach. They would be prioritized. That was the spirit behind the policy on hard to reach. So we need to take it back, I think, to the sectors and have a discussion on hard to reach and see how we can, in this spirit of whole of government approach, to ensure that we continuously support them to get them out of hard to reach criteria. I'm almost there. Okay, I understand the next presenter is already here. You haven't even had lunch. So I think you are going to fast like the others who are fasting. Road fund, 1 billion to road units. And you have one mechanical workshop in Western Uganda. Do you have someone coming from Works? We are packing this question to Ministry of Works, that you have one workshop in Western Uganda. This is a big area, and it's not adequate to address all your concerns. A hybrid procurement, yes, you are recommending lotting the procurements, and this is at your level, but also if it is coming from the center, this is something that you can talk about. It has been solved. They can lot them to ensure that you give a few lots to different people, and then, but he says it has been sorted out. They no longer give you many. So that is the lotting, it's done. Inadequate funding, I think there is little, the complaint has been that while we devolved the functions to local governments, the fiscal transfers that go to the local governments, they do not match the devolved functions. Isn't that the concern you've raised? So can we also pack this for the PS local government? Because we have a local government finance commission, this is the discussion that should be happening. But I will also take it up. I'm supposed to have a meeting with the local government finance commission about the issue of financing. But also, you should be talking about the generation of resources, local funding. How in your role, what are you doing to support the local governments that you are in to ensure that you are able to generate additional resources, even where financing from the central government is dwindling? How can you use the resources you have to generate more resources to support your service delivery? Salary disparities, yes, government is handling this to see how we can see that payments both at the local government, within the central government and government agencies, how do we remove the salary disparities so that everyone is comfortable. Local governments don't have funds to recruit critical staff. This is across service. So you need to identify the critical staffing levels, discuss with the chief administrative officers, and see how you can use the little resources that you have to recruit the right people. However, I've also been told, it has been a complaint that I received, I've forgotten where I was, that it came to my office that some of the district political leaders, including RDCs, the chairpersons of the movement, the chairpersons of the district, you influence that even where local governments have money to recruit, but because you are targeting to recruit certain sons and daughters of the soil, you stop the recruitment. That one I have had, there are cases where I followed up when I was still in Ministry of Local Government, and I found them to be true. So if you are doing this, please, you know that it is also impacting on service delivery. So I think I've answered all the questions. The rest of the things that I have received are recommendations that are answering these questions. And I'm going to leave these issues to you. Sit down in your time, during your evening, because these are the things that are going to help you when you go back. So answer the questions, put them down. If they are cross-cutting and the journal, you can put them as part of your report so that we can also share in the report. I request the organizers of this training that for those areas that come as recommendations and you feel that Office of the Prime Minister needs to partake of them and come up with solutions, please share the report with us. Thank you so much, and I wish you a blessed afternoon.
I think we give another clap.
You want my contact?
The Deputy Head of Public Service for her able presentation. There was a few observations, especially for the Chairman NRM. If you remember what the Secretary promised you, whereas the reforms are taking place and the legal framework, the Secretary, OP, has promised that he's going to talk with the local government to have the cows include a budget for the chairman, NRM chairman, monitoring into the budget 2526. I'm sure you remember that. That was a promise from the Secretary. So at least it's not all lost yet. No, it's not lost. It's coming. Chairperson. That one will come. That one is being considered. So, our next presenter is here, but I'm suggesting that we break for lunch. I'm suggesting that we break for lunch and come back to receive.
Yeah. this. You know me too, baby. I go sad on me. Joke me love for this. You know me too, baby. I go sad on me. Joke me love for this. You know me too, baby. I go sad on me. Joke me love for this. You know me too, baby. I go sad on me. Joke me love for this. You know me too, baby. I go sad on me. Joke me love for this. You know me too, baby. I go sad on me. Joke me love for this. You know me too, baby. I go sad on me. Joke me love for this. You know me too, baby.